While the rest of the world is distracted by the conflict in the Middle East, something massive happened in Moscow that could ignite Africa's next industrial revolution. I'm talking about the kind of power shift that keeps Western capitals awake at night. June 2025, revolutionary leaders Captain Ibrahim Traoré and President Assimi Goïta of Mali didn't just visit Putin for tea and photo ops. They signed nuclear deals that could literally light up half of Africa. Here's what will shock you. Why over 50 million Africans across the Sahel still live without reliable electricity? Russia just handed the revolutionary government the keys to atomic power. But here's the kicker. The same uranium that has been powering French cities for decades is about to fuel Africa's rise instead. This isn't just energy independence. This is the launchpad for a true industrial revolution, one led by Africans for Africans. But first, let me show you exactly why Western powers are panicking about what happens when revolutionary governments go nuclear. Trust me, you've never heard this story told like this before. The real tragedy about Africa isn't just about imposing puppet leaders or sponsoring terrorism. It's about keeping an entire continent in the dark and poor, literally. This is the part they never teach in school. The raw numbers that expose how global powers deliberately kept Africa powerless, and why breaking that system is now the key to launching Africa's industrial revolution. Take Nigeria for example, with over 220 million people. It recently hit a record electricity generation peak of just 6,000 megawatts. Compare that to Germany, a country of only 83 million people, which has nearly 190,000 megawatts of renewable energy capacity alone, and its conventional power sources and Germany's total installed capacity exceed 230,000 megawatts. This changes everything, because here's what they never told you. A single Russian nuclear reactor produces 1,200 megawatts of electricity. That's nearly 20% of Nigeria's entire peak output from just one power plant. And Mali, the whole country runs on only 904 megawatts. One reactor will more than double its national power supply overnight. Meanwhile, France, the former colonial power, operates 56 nuclear reactors that together generate over 360 terawatt-hours of electricity each year. That's 360 trillion watt-hours, enough to power most of Western Europe. And yet, the Alliance of Sahel States, which includes Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and has over 70 million people, still suffers extreme electricity shortages. The math of operation is now undeniable. Western countries denied Africa access to nuclear technology while building massive reactor fleet that dwarf entire African power grids. Kenya, for instance, has just 3,000 megawatts of grid capacity, less than what 3 Russian nuclear reactors can provide combined. And here's the bottom line. No country can industrialize without power. The West knew this. That's why they kept Africa in the dark, so they could keep extracting raw materials unhinged, while Niger's uranium powered Paris for 70 years, supplying significant portion of France's uranium needs. But now, the Sahel has broken that code. If Mali goes nuclear, it's over for the old extraction economy. Coming up, I'll show you exactly how Putin's nuclear handshake could ignite Africa's industrial revolution overnight. The handshake between revolutionary leaders Traoré and Goïta with Putin wasn't a diplomatic theater. It was a multi-billion-dollar spark in what could become Africa's industrial revolution. A move the West never expected and never offered. Watch Putin's body language in those Moscow meetings. This is the same man who makes European presidents wait in hallways. Yet, he gave African revolutionaries the red carpet and 2-hour private talks about energy and sovereignty. Why? Because Russia sees partners where West sees colonies. Burkina Faso's agreement with Rosatom isn't symbolic. It includes nuclear power plants, research reactors, and food technical support. Rosatom director said it clearly. We are ready to provide advanced technologies and expert support, not subject to conditions, but we are ready. Mali's parallel deal establishes framework for infrastructure, safety, training, and medical applications. The kind of holistic technology transfer France refused to offer for over 60 years of so-called partnership. And here's what makes this truly revolutionary. These aren't aid programs loaded with conditions. This is nuclear fuel cycle independence, uranium enrichment, waste handling, no more middlemen, no more begging, full energy sovereignty in one of the most powerful industries on earth. The Alliance of Sahel States, home to 71 million people and a combined GDP of 62 billion, now has a nuclear partnership that stretches from the Atlantic to Lake Chad. For the first time in modern history, these revolutionary states are writing their own atomic future. Coming up, I'll break down the energy numbers that proves these nuclear revolutions was inevitable. But first, let me paint you a picture of the darkness Africa inherited from colonialism. Imagine this. It's 2025 in rural Burkina Faso. A student is trying to revise for exams. The sun sets. The room fades into darkness. No light, no internet, no backup. For hundreds of kilometers, there is no electricity, just silence. Yet, just 50 kilometers away, uranium from that same soil is powering the glowing streetlights of Paris. This is energy apartheid by design, a colonial system that extracted African resources to illuminate Europe while leaving Africa in the dark. That's the system revolutionary governments are now dismantling through Russian nuclear partnerships. As of 2022, Burkina Faso's rural electrification rate stood at a catastrophic 5.9%, with bold plans to hit 50% by 2028. In Mali, national access reached 56% in 2023, with urban areas at 87%, but rural regions still struggle at just 31%. Meanwhile, Niger's uranium made up 22% of France's uranium imports, feeding a system where 70% of France's electricity comes from nuclear power. This isn't mismanagement, it's colonial engineering, a system that kept Africa powerless to keep it dependent. Now, the government of Ibrahim Traoré is flipping the script. Russian nuclear agreements include domestic uranium enrichment, ensuring that African uranium finally powers African homes. Energy Minister confirmed that many steps have already been taken, with 4 memoranda signed and construction ready to begin at any minute. These aren't promises, they are blueprints in motion. And it doesn't stop at electricity. The nuclear revolution stretches into medicine, agriculture, and industry, delivering transformative technology that France never provided in all its decades of so-called development aid. Coming up, we'll reveal how Russian security guarantees are making nuclear infrastructure possible in zones that Western forces abandoned or destabilized. But first, let this sink in. The uranium that once lit up Paris is finally returning home to power Africa. June 6, 2025, game-changing announcement. Wagner Group formally declared mission accomplished in Mali after stabilizing regions that Western forces couldn't secure in a decade. The transition to African Corps isn't just rebranding, it's Russia proving that African revolutionaries can trust Moscow to deliver on long-term commitments. The timing wasn't coincidental. Nuclear infrastructure requires security that goes beyond traditional military protection. While Western forces protected mining interests and left civilians vulnerable, Russian cooperation prioritizes territorial integrity, essential for nuclear safety. The African Corps absorbed about 70 to 80% of Wagner personnel, ensuring operational continuity while providing revolutionary government with professional nuclear energy frameworks. Here's what changes everything. The Alliance of Sahel States coordinated with the International Atomic Energy Agency authorities to establish regional nuclear security protocols, specifically addressing trans-border threats. This is professional nuclear security planning that Western interventions never provided, despite billions in spending that only worsened regional instability. The government understands nuclear power isn't just about reactors, it's about comprehensive security ecosystems. Russian expertise extends to detection systems, response mechanisms, and specialized training that exceeds international standards. Coming up, I'll show you how nuclear sovereignty integrates with resource control to permanently end Western extraction economics. June 17, 2025, the government of Assimi Goïta broke grounds on a Russian-backed gold refinery with a capacity to process 200 tons annually. This isn't just about gold, it's a powerful signal that Africa's industrial revolution is no longer a dream. It's proof that resource sovereignty becomes reality when you have genuine partners, not colonial extractors. And that revolution isn't limited to gold. Russia's nuclear cooperation goes far beyond building reactors. It includes full cycle management, uranium enrichment, fuel fabrication, and waste handling. These are the foundational pieces of an energy infrastructure that can drive long-term industrial growth across Africa. For the first time, The government in the Sahel can leverage their own uranium for domestic energy security while controlling surplus export, a move that reshapes global uranium market, long rigged in favor of Western powers. When Niger revoked Urano's licenses, it wasn't just a rejection of France, it was the symbolic end of uranium colonialism. Goita was clear. The gold refinery represents economic sovereignty and allows Mali to capitalize on revenues from gold and byproducts. But the deeper revolution is in value retention. Rosatom's agreement includes local uranium processing, ensuring that for once, African minerals fuel African industry, not just Western consumption. This creates a domestic nuclear sector, generating high-skilled employment for African engineers, scientists, and technicians, reversing decades of brain drain to European universities. But this isn't just about uranium. Resource control is now feeding energy sovereignty, a direct challenge to Western monopolies on everything from technology to infrastructure. Coming up, we explore how this nuclear-powered momentum is transforming regional cooperation across the Alliance of Sahel States, laying the groundwork for continent-wide energy independence. The Russian nuclear agreement are being supercharged by the Alliance of Sahel States. By breaking from the Western-dominated ECOWAS, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger forged a new bloc built on one thing: sovereignty. This isn't just a political statement, it's an economic master plan. Their framework for joint nuclear research, training, and regional power plant is the engine for an industrial revolution. With a combined GDP of over $62 billion as a starting point, they have the foundation. Now, with Russia's help, they are adding the missing ingredient: unlimited cheap energy. This is how they become the richest region in Africa. By combining their immense mineral wealth with nuclear power, they will stop exporting raw minerals and start exporting finished goods. Electronics, steel, medicine. They are building a self-sufficient economic fortress. The alliance is creating a blueprint for the continent. True African unity, powered by the atom, is the only path to true wealth. So why the desperate propaganda? Why does Western media scream that Africa is too unstable for nuclear power? Because they aren't afraid of the risk. They are terrified of the reward. They didn't mind the instability when they were extracting resources. Their hypocrisy is stunning. The real fear is that a nuclear-powered Sahel will become an industrial superpower. They are not trying to stop a nuclear meltdown. They are trying to stop an economic one, their own. This isn't a battle over Russian influence. It's a battle over Africa's glorious, prosperous future. The Alliance of Sahel States is proving that with the right partners, Africans can master advanced technology and build industries the West never would. This is the model that can be replicated across our continent, turning every region into an economic powerhouse. This is how Russia is powering Africa's next industrial revolution, not just with energy, but with tools to build unprecedented wealth, dignity, and sovereignty. This is Frontline Africa. If you value truth unfiltered and power reframed from an African lens, subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts. I am Ezekiel Enejeta. See you in the next one.